Woman came to the wetlands to investigate and discovered a strange increase in the water level of the pools. With a bad feeling, she immediately sent a telegram to the government, saying that the city would face a once-in-a-century flood. To further verify her guess, she took a general with her the next day to survey the rivers in the city. According to the data they collected under the bridge, the water flow velocity had increased again and was about to break the critical value. When they arrived at the dam, they found the situation even worse. On the way back, Teresa suddenly asked the general to stop the car. The general thought she needed to use the restroom, but instead, she ran to a farmer's house on the side of the road. It turned out that she had noticed a large tree there with all its leaves turned yellow, while the surrounding trees were fine. She quickly asked the farmer if he had a basement. The farmer was surprised to hear this because his basement had not been used for a long time. Teresa went to the basement and immediately noticed that the plaster on the opposite wall had fallen off, and it was all wet to the touch. This made the farmer even more puzzled, as there were no rivers nearby, and the groundwater was not so shallow. Teresa, however, realized that something was wrong. She hurried back to the government office. After analyzing the data, Teresa concluded and pointed out which parts of the city would be flooded and which areas were relatively safe. However, the local hydrological bureau expert stated that the water flow would not exceed 2,400 cubic meters and believed that as long as they blew up the dam on the tributary, the water would bypass the city center. They then kicked Teresa out. The relevant leaders did not know how to deploy the work. When the mayor was seeing the woman off, he still wanted to hear her opinion. Teresa gave him the best plan without reservation: open the flood barrier before the major flood arrived to let the floodwater flow out. She then left, ignoring the mayor's plea to stay, and boarded the helicopter to go home. On the helicopter, Teresa accidentally discovered some anomalies. The dikes and buildings below were not marked on the map the mayor had given her. Upon closer inspection, she found that it was actually a map from 30 years ago. Teresa immediately requested to turn back. She quickly found the mayor and informed him that the dike would raise the upstream water level, rendering her previous plan to divert the flow by blowing up the flood barrier completely ineffective. The mayor hurriedly called the troops executing the demolition mission, but due to poor signal, the officer in charge of the mission did not receive the call and decisively ordered his subordinates to detonate. The next morning, Teresa rushed to the government office again. She explained that because of the map issue, the dam had been blown up, and now the only way to eliminate the flood threat was to divert the water by blowing up the bend before the flood entered the city. Although this could ensure that the city was not threatened by the flood, the villagers downstream had to be evacuated first. Faced with the only chance, the mayor thought about it and once again chose to believe Teresa. Just as he was about to sign the document to issue the order, the minister stopped him. Once this order was issued, it would flood several villages below. At the very least, they would be condemned by the public. At worst, it would end their political careers. To prevent such situations from happening, the minister told him to be a wise man. While signing, he should have his subordinates leak the news to the TV station. When the villagers heard on TV that the troops were going to blow up the dike to release the flood, causing a flood in their hometown, they gathered in groups of 3 or 5 to defend their homes and prepare